So welcome to Frosmo's webinar about driving e-commerce revenue with personalization. My name is Riikka and I'm a platform training manager here at Frosmo, and together today with me I have Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm the product marketing manager at Frosmo.
And our today's topic is personalization. Let's go through a few things like why you should be personalizing, what personalization really is, then some good and bad examples, and at the end, let's cover how to excel and optimize personalization. Let's start with this why. So according to Accenture, 91% of consumers are more likely to shop with your brand if you recognize, remember, and provide relevant offer and recommendations to them. Then another study shows that companies that do personalize, they see revenue increases with 6 to 10%. But still, only 1 out of 10 businesses are advanced with their insights. I see that there is a quite big difference between what the consumers are expecting and what companies are actually delivering. And well, the revenue increase, at least to me, looks quite significant. So these studies really show that there is room for personalization, and it would be a good thing to do. But what I see is like usually being the biggest obstacle is that personalization, it requires additional resources, or then it might also be that the companies are lacking the expertise in this area.
Yeah, I think you make a great point there onto why people should personalize. And you almost wonder why are more companies doing it. But before we get into that, maybe it's good to establish what personalization really is. According to Gartner, personalization is a process that creates a relevant individualized interaction between two parties designed to enhance the experience of the recipient. It uses insights based on the recipient's personal data, as well as behavioral data about the actions of similar individuals, to deliver an experience to meet specific needs and preferences. Now, this is a very, I'd say, comprehensive definition by Gartner, which is great, and it works both online and offline. However, we are more interested in online, I'd say, and so for Frosmo, in our own words, we'd say that personalization is the combination of history and context to display content that appeals to a specific visitor in that moment. What that means is that we also exclude stuff like recommendations where you, for example, say someone who's buying a banana, we should recommend them an apple because other people who have bought bananas have also bought apples. We'd say those are just fine for recommendations. However, if you would want to personalize them, it would be something like, we know that someone has bought oranges before. So now when they try to buy a banana, we offer them oranges as a recommendation to add to their cart as well. That will be a, albeit very basic way of personalizing the recommendation. Yeah, so perhaps we could go into a little bit deeper into what history is and what context means.
Yeah. Actually, one quick thing that I forgot to say, I already see a few questions in our questions panel. So if you have questions, please submit those to us and we will go them through at the end of the presentation. So, but then let's go to the examples.
Great. So if we, for example, look at history, for us history is data that you've recorded or collected of your customers or visitors over however long they've been shopping with you or just visiting your website. There are the usual suspects such as product views, purchase history. One that's perhaps a little underused would be the on-site search. It gives great information about what people are really interested in, what they're really looking for. Another big one for us is CRM and ERP integrations. These integrations would give additional information about, for example, offline purchases. It could be location, where they have shopped, where they live. And then it could also be something like perhaps newsletter openings. How many newsletters have they opened? If they opened them, what did they click? What were the particular topics that they were interested in? So as I mentioned, location is important there. And then one that's especially big for our online gaming and gambling companies is churn prevention. What we do at Frosmo there is that we look at historical data and try to assess or give a grade to people how high the risk is that they will churn, that they will not come back to the website, that the company risks losing them. Of course, there's also the opposite, where we can identify these VIP customers and tailor content according to their needs. And then the obvious one, price, which could be people who like to shop in certain brackets or people who are interested only in discounts, for example. That's the history. Then the next one to take a look at would be context. Context is what's the weather like? What season is it in the location that the person is in? And then the obvious ones, which device are they using? What page on their website are they visiting? What are they trying to do here? Events are very important. Are there local events? Are you having specific events like a sale on your website that they should know about? Or even something as big as the World Cup. It's a huge event, and it would put a lot of context into why people are shopping. And then finally there we have gender. That doesn't just mean the gender of the person that's shopping. I would say it's also the gender of who they're shopping for. This one's especially important for Valentine's Day, when you're probably not shopping for yourself. So then what we say, history plus context makes personalization. So, for example, if we combine price, current page, and we can create the default sorting based on price. What this means is if a visitor always sorts the category pages by lowest price first, we know the history that they do that. We know the context, it's on the category page, and we know that they are interested in either items that are on sale or the cheaper items. So what you can easily then do is always sort this page for this person by price. And it's a super easy way of personalizing. It reduces clicks, it makes it more convenient for the visitor, and it's honestly something anyone could do at this point.
I actually have a very similar case in mind. Like whenever I'm flying, I use a particular airline, and they have noticed that I like sitting on an aisle seat. So whenever I go and do my check-in, they have automatically added me the seat that is on the aisle, so that I don't need to go and change it every time to my preferences. So it's really easy, like history, when checking in, they do something for me.
Exactly, and I think that's a great example as well. And as you can see, there are a lot of combinations possible. We'll just do one more. Let's take perhaps location. Someone who lives in an area in which skiing is very popular. We're in Finland here. A lot of people cross-country ski, especially people who live near cross-country tracks. They go skiing, so you know it's the season. Maybe you even know the weather forecast. It's going to be great skiing weather next weekend. So if someone is on your website, you know that they're in a skiing location, you know the weather is going to be like that, then offer these kind of skiing equipment to them. And better yet, if they have purchased from you before, you could look at which skiing items are they missing or they didn't purchase from you, or perhaps even what's the first item they bought, so something they maybe want to replace, and then try to predict what gear they want to buy next. These are maybe a little bit more detailed, but they would really help your conversions.
Yeah,
and as you can see, we've just connected a few of the wires here to see what's possible. Honestly, the possibilities here are endless, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think like though you have a lot of data, then you just need to know how to use it and when to use it. So there are some good and bad sides of personalization as well. For example, over personalization, like though I know that there are these data analysts and machines that are like tracking each and every or checking each and every step of like what I'm doing, and then trying to figure out like detectives that like what do I want to do next, or thinking like which products they should give me next. I don't really want to see that. Like I don't want to notice it too obviously, and especially like I've seen examples like where someone is using my name somewhere in a recommendation title or something. It doesn't really give me any value. Like it doesn't matter if it says that, hey Riikka, here are the products for you, or here are some recommended products for you. This name doesn't give me any extra, and especially if I'm not logged in, it starts to be creepy. On the other hand, then there are these personalization attempts where companies are relying on too little data, or the data might be getting a bit old. So one example could be like, for example, if I was purchasing something for my friend's baby for a birthday or something, then after a few months or even a week, it's not relevant to show me these baby clothes recommendations in social media or somewhere. Like, because that was just at one occasion. It doesn't mean that I will continuously want to buy the same stuff. And well, the good personalization is something that it adapts to what am I currently doing, where am I with my journey, and it guides me forward. Some of the sites that we work with, for example, can be a bit complex. So if there is this kind of like subtle like nudges pushing me forward to the direction where I should go, then I guess would make it a lot easier to figure out, for example, in gaming, again, like what to do next. And then how to actually achieve this. So how to excel and optimize the personalization. The baseline is that you need to have the correct audience and you need to deliver them a relevant message at the right moment. If you don't match this criteria, then usually your personalization goes wrong. We have these 4 W's that we think that really help when creating personalized user experiences. So we have our who, that is the audience or segment that you want to target something to. And it can be based on the phase of the journey where the visitor is, or it can be based on their interests, demographics, or something else. Then you have the next W being what. So what you actually are showing to them. Then there is where and when. So these are the moments. When, so what has to happen in order something to show, and then what's the location on the website where we want to show something. I'll give one example of this. So here I'm focusing on the journey, and I'll take this phase of the journey being the has added to cart. So when visitors add something to cart, and to add the business logic here as well is that I want to focus on my average order value. So I know that my target for my average order value is, let's say, 200 euros. So I'll split the audience into 2. So I take the ones that have not put products with 200 euros into cart currently. And then I start looking at their history, like, okay, what have they done during their past visits? What kind of data do I have about these visitors? And then, of course, take into account what do they have in the cart at the moment. And then create a recommendation to show them more products that will be relevant for them in order to increase the average order value of these visitors. Whereas then if I take the other side, these visitors who have more than 200 euros worth of products in their cart, for them I'll try to take all the obstacles away and just kind of close the deal. So make sure that they have the easiest possible way to complete their purchase. One example. And though that was like very business oriented example, I think the personalization is a two-way street. So you want to have something for your customers. You want to give value to them because you won't get the data unless you give some value to your customers. So basically, just like what in that Accenture study was stating that this 91% want to are more likely to shop when there is relevant stuff for them. Most likely they wouldn't want to give you the data unless they get that relevant experience in return. So the data should not be used against them. And to get something for you as well, there has to be clear business goals for personalization. So choose what you want to achieve rather than just give or do personalization just for the sake of doing it. Then the big obstacle I mentioned in the beginning was this that it requires additional resources. We might not have the expertise, so we can start small. Like even distinguishing that, okay, these are my completely new visitors and these are my returning who have been purchasing with me many times. Even that would make big difference. Because for the new visitors, you might need to give the social proof, tell your unique selling points and so on. Whereas the one who has been purchasing with you frequently, they don't need this anymore. They can just they trust you already. So you can just go with more straightforward funnel for them. And personalization is not really that far from doing conversion optimization or growth hacking. So in personalization, you also need to use data-driven approaches. So write your hypothesis, think of what is the outcome, what you want to validate, that if the personalization was successful or not. Then there are two types of personalization, I would say. Now there's a lot of talk about this one-to-one personalization or individualization that you can only achieve with machine learning. So there has to be a machine doing everything for you because you cannot serve all your customers, obviously. But then still there is no point of forgetting this kind of rule-based personalization. So creating audiences, people who behave in a similar manner, and then delivering them content that is relevant to them. And then the last point here is this continuously experiment and optimize. So personalization is never ready. You start and you keep on testing and experimenting, what could work, because of course you cannot know it from the beginning.
Yeah, that's very true. I think you got some great points there, and especially what's really important to me is this start small. It's not even a small part, it's just start. Yeah. I think people should really do the personalization. It's not as difficult. Even those small things, they really do add up in the end. And perhaps we could go to the summary then and take a look at what people can do. I think that with consent, if you track, combine, and analyze data to create accurate history for each user, if you set goals, if you use the context to ensure what's shown is relevant, not just to the person, but also to that situation. And finally, once you set up this personalization and optimize, you really will get those results. And it is so worth it, even if it seems like a lot of effort to start. And well, we know from the customers that we work with that they all benefited from it in the end.
Yeah. And it just, I think like the topic is very overwhelming, because as you were showing the slide with the history and context and the endless possibilities, then you don't know where to start from. So we need to kind of like find the low-hanging fruits from there, and then test something, and then see if you get the return on investment. So there's no need to kind of like try to figure it all out immediately. But just
indeed, yeah. Everyone these days has the data. There's some data. Everybody can start somewhere. Yeah, I think that this is something that if someone needs help, of course we can help them with that. But everyone, just take a look at what they have, what they can do, and just start doing something. It will be a lot easier than to continue into these more ambitious projects.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was all from our side. Then are there more questions? Please pop them to our way, and then I can maybe ask one here. So Tom, do you want to answer this one? So if there is like a really complex system on the background, so how can I get the data and how can I start personalizing?
That's of course for each company that would be different. It depends on their setup, but what have you done with customers so far? Can you perhaps give an example on how we have solved these things before?
Well, you can get the data, of course, with Frosmo as well from the even from the front end, and then with that data, you can already start and do simple things. Then, of course, if you want to have the more comprehensive integration to your like customer data platform or start creating something like this, of course, it requires a bit more time. But then I would suggest still to start with the data that you have available.
Yeah, and that's very true. Of course, what we usually do is we start figuring out these segments and then using the data to put people in these different segments. Even if there's nothing, we can still use their behavior to try and predict which groups they fall into. And as time goes on, as people make more clicks, of course, that will become more accurate. Yeah, again, here, the important part is don't get stuck on, oh, we have this huge amount in all these different systems. Figure out which parts do match and then start from there.
Yeah. I think that's right. And then there was one about the reference to the year of the research that I was presenting in the beginning. So the Boston Consulting Group, that was from 2017, and the Accenture and Forrester, both from the end of last year.
Are there any more questions?
Okay. I think it's a wrap then. So thank you for attending. And if you want to see more, like how you can profit from personalization, you can always contact us, and we can help you forward or to start with personalization.